You are listening to One Happy Podcast, episode 23.
We never had more fun, and it was something we didn't plan on doing.
Bon dia and welcome to One Happy Podcast, the officially unofficial podcast of the island of Aruba. I'm your host, Curtis Robinson, aka Aruba Kurt, and welcome to the show. Now, before we get started, I want to thank you all for deciding to spend some of your time with me. You could be listening to anyone right now, but the fact that you chose me really means a lot. If I had to choose one word for describing today's show, it would be enjoyable. Today's guests do an awesome job of getting their Aruba story out of their minds and into your earbuds. But enough of me talking, let's get into it. Joining me today on One Happy Podcast are a couple of Aruba files who recently returned from paradise. They first discovered Aruba in 2010, and only a couple of weeks ago on their fourth trip to the island celebrated their 35th anniversary. Please allow me to welcome to the show Marcia and Ray Frost. Hey guys, how you doing?
We're great.
Good, Curtis.
Nice, good to hear. I've been looking forward to speaking to you guys for a while because, you are the biggest fans of the show that I know. So I want to thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Great show.
So Marcia, Ray, are you ready to take the listeners on the journey to your Aruba?
We sure are.
So I told the listeners a little bit about who you are, but why don't you fill in any blanks that I may have missed?
Well, Ray and I were married in 1980, and we were young being married, and we wanted to go to Aruba on our honeymoon. And unfortunately, at 19 and 22, we didn't have the funds to go. So every fifth year anniversary, we kept saying, we're going to go to Aruba, we're going to go. And it took us 30 years. And in 2010, we made our first trip to Aruba. And since then, we have been 4 times in the last 5 years and plan on going for many more years to come.
Once you discover Aruba, it's an addiction. You just keep on coming back again and again and again.
It sure is, yeah. So, our first trip there in 2010, we just kind of took it really easy and didn't do a lot, just laid around and got the lay of the land there a little bit and didn't really know what it was all about. And then we went back, took our son and his girlfriend. They live in Denver, and so we met them in Boston at Logan Airport, and we all flew down to Aruba and stayed at the Divvy Dutch Village. That was a good time down there with those two.
Yeah, family trips are nice. But before we get into the specifics, let me just ask you a question that I feel sets the tone for how things go for the entire interview. When did you guys first fall in love with Aruba?
Well, I would have to say it was 1980. Back then, Jamaica and Aruba were the places to go. As a 19-year-old, it seemed so far away, and, never thought we would get there. But everything was Aruba, Jamaica, kind of like the Beach Boys song.
Right.
So it was a place we didn't know much about it, as far as the people, the safety or whatever, but it was a place as 2 young people getting married that we knew we wanted to go to. And it took us 30 years, and boy, it was worth the wait.
Okay, so now it's 2010. You land in Aruba. You walk outside of the airport. What's your first impression?
I think I had tears running down my cheeks. I thought it took 30 years to get here. To be with my best friend and the one that I love was totally amazing.
And how about you, Ray?
It was something I thought when I walked out front. I couldn't believe it. The trade winds, the hot air hits you right in the face, but there's a nice warm breeze going along with it. And just looking around at the island there, it's indescribable.
So you guys stayed at the Divvy Dutch Village, right?
Our first trip there, we stayed at the Divvy All-Inclusive. That was good because that included everything, all your food, your drink, your stay, the shows, everything.
We did venture off. Our neighbor was a travel agent, So we kind of put it in her hands and said we wanted something special for our 30th anniversary to have dinner on the beach, which turned out to be Passions, which she booked for us. It was like they pulled a screen down when you go for those photos at Sears or wherever.
Right.
You've got the sunset in back of you, and we just kept pinching ourselves saying we're in paradise. We went there for our anniversary. We did El Gauchos and went off the resort because we had met another couple. But other than that, we stayed on the resort and never regretted it at all. It was amazing.
Now when you go down, where do you stay?
Well, our fourth trip, 2010, we stayed at the Divvy All Inclusive, which I find is definitely the best beach on the island. Clean, large, fantastic. And then we stayed in 2013 with our son and his girlfriend at the Divvy Dutch Village, which basically was that same area. You know, had a kitchen. We did the grocery store. Our son is a chef.
Oh, nice.
And he wanted to cook for us. So we had no problems with that because he's fantastic. And his girlfriend's quite great as well. And then in 2014, October, this past October, we stayed at Casa del Mar. A local woman that I met coming through to vote, I work in the polls, was mentioning Aruba. And when anybody mentions Aruba, I'm like, where did you stay? What did you do? I'm engrossed in what they have to say in their experiences. And she said, I own a timeshare at Casa del Mar. And the price was incredible for a presidential 2-bedroom, 2-bath. And we stayed there with my sister and brother-in-law in October. And then this past June, from June 5th to the 14th, we stayed at Aruba Surfside Marina.
And where's that at?
It's, you know where Pinchos is?
Yes.
When you get off and you walk through that courtyard to go out to the dock, you know, to walk, that open kind of courtyard, when you look up and the palm trees are lit up and the rooms are up above, it's a very small bed and breakfast, 5 rooms on the second floor, and we stayed there. So we've kind of done the all-inclusive, a timeshare, and now a bed and breakfast. So we've kind of had a different look on different aspects of the island.
So which style do you think suits you the most?
Well, we like a lot watching people and seeing and mingling with people. So we kind of like the all-inclusive because there's people out around the pools and they got their own little bars and stuff. So that's nice. But this place we stayed at was nice to the fact that, you know, it wasn't really crowded there, but it would be good to stay there 2 or 3 days, not the whole 9.
If you have a car, it's a little remote. It's about a 25-minute walk to downtown. Right as you leave the airport, about 1.2 miles on your left-hand side. We don't rent a car because we like to take the buses. We like to be in with the people. It was definitely the best part of it was on Saturday and Sunday, Surfside Beach, which is mostly Arubans. They pull their cars down. They have the music playing. It was so touching to see. They come for the day, and they are in that water for 10 to 12 hours. You've got grandmothers. You've got aunts. You've got uncles. You've got several generations that get in that water, and not a bit of English is spoken. We felt we were totally international. And the love and the playing, and it was, I felt for the first time of going to Aruba that I was in another country.
So even though you guys were kind of in the tourist area, you still got a taste of what the real Aruba was like.
Oh, totally real Aruba, yes.
Nice. Yeah, I would love to check out the beach that you guys were talking about.
Surfside Beach, it's more where the locals go from what we were told from where we stay on the weekends, basically.
Right. Yeah, I love how you guys the way that you guys explore? Because, I mean, so many people never get off the resort grounds.
Right.
But you guys are just like out there experiencing the real Aruba.
35 years of being married, you've got to kind of mix it up.
Right.
Well, we wanted to see how everyone there, how they really live there. I like to get into the nuts and bolts of how it all works, you know. So we hired a taxi cab. Our taxi cab driver, Walter Broke, hired him for a day, and he took us up to the California Lighthouse. His nephew runs the Italian restaurant up there, manages it, and then he took us all the way down to San Nicolas, down to where the old lighthouse was down there, and took us through everything, where the locals eat. You know, we were with him for 6 hours, and we saw every bit of the island. We even took a drive through the red light district.
What was that like?
That was different.
Well, one street is Arubans and the other street are Colombians. And very narrow street. He had a very small, was it Toyota?
He's got a Toyota RAV4.
RAV4. We sit down the streets, and the women sit in the chairs in the doorway, and behind them, it looked like a jail cell. You could see the bed. And they sat right near the door. Some of them got up. They were on cell phones. They posed. This was during the day. This was like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And he took us up and down. It was kind of, I said to him, it's kind of sad. I said, you know, what about like the cleanliness? And he said, he's a true Aruban. And he in his 70s, and he told us that they get tested weekly.
At the doctors.
At the doctors, but it was, you know, it was enlightening.
Yes.
It was sad because they were young. They were beautiful young women, and I guess they used to do greater business when what was the place out there?
Well, the oil refinery.
The oil refinery. You know, it was like a whole community with a hospital out there with the oil refinery. He took us through. Huge. So business had kind of cut back, but it was enlightening, but it was very sad because they were young, beautiful girls.
So you get like a real education on Aruba.
Oh yeah. Well, we saw everything. You know, we went by where they distill, the water and the old refinery. There's the prisons out on the bad side of the island.
Prison with a beautiful view.
We stopped at the bars where the natives go to have a drink, and bread was made on one side. And then we went to this place. We don't even know. It had like spray paint. 402, was it 402C? And a little window opened between 4:30 and 7:30. And it was all the Arubans went. And here I was, little old white me. It's like all sweetbreads and like pulled chicken curry sandwiches and different things. It was like all of the natives knew when that window opened at 4:30 till 7:30 till the stuff was sold out. So we really got to know through Walter that he took us to all the haunts where the native Arubans go.
That is so cool.
It was very cool.
And how did you find this taxi driver?
Back in 2014, when we were staying at the Casa del Mar, I walked over to Superfood and bought a bunch of groceries, and it was too much to carry home, so I went outside, and there was the taxi drivers out there waiting. So I got in his cab and got talking with him and told him if we ever come back, he gave me a card. He's taxi cab number 306, and got his card, and he said if you ever come back, just give him a call, and he'd take us around the island, and he did.
See, you never know when you'll meet someone that can help you out down the road. How about restaurants? Do you guys have favorite restaurants around the island?
Well, we felt like the Phantom Gourmet. I had to get a notepad because we kept notes this trip of every place we went, where we ate. A lot of them were from your podcast. We never made a lot up in the high rises. Barney's,
Mm-hmm.
Bugaloo, Moomba. We did hear from a waitress at Sidebar in the Renaissance Mall that told us that whether you're a dishwasher, a line cook, wait staff, they all go to Zerovers, which we went to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then they finish out at Moomba's on Sunday. And that is where the natives, that is their Sunday to say, end of the week, no matter what you do for a
Mm-hmm.
job, that's where they go. So she was fabulous. She told us. We did go to Zerovers, and while we were there, Walter, our cab driver, said, "Oh, look over at the pool tables. That's the governor of Aruba was there playing pool."
That's how you know the food's good, when the politicians go there.
Well, he said he grew up there. And of course,
Mm-hmm.
coming from Boston, Xander, who is
Yes.
on the Red Sox, is from San
Mm-hmm.
Nicolas. So, but when we looked, the governor just kind of blended in, and he said he is from that area. He's there with the people. So it was cool, and I kind of wanted to go over and take a picture with him, but then I thought it might be too much.
Hey, you should have went for it.
But he looked fabulous.
So let's go back to Sidebar. Tell me a little bit about that.
So we went there on day 6 of our trip, which was on the Wednesday. And we got, let me tell you, we both decided, our son being a chef, so we like good food. My husband's a fabulous cook. The crab and corn chowder was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And we got the coconut shrimp with a mango chili sauce. And we can't say enough. That was one of the lists on one of your podcasts. Somebody had mentioned it, or a list along the way,
Mm-hmm.
and we give it a thumbs up.
Nice. Yes, I haven't been there yet.
Excellent.
If you like sushi, there's a place in there called Sushi Ya. And, it's fabulous.
Mm-hmm.
I had some eel, salmon, tuna, and then it had flying fish eggs on it and some stuff I'd never seen before, but it was really good.
Yeah, we usually stay in the Palm Beach area, but you'd say that this is worth the trip in?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I'm not a sushi eater. My husband and son eat raw quail eggs, and we were walking through the mall, the Renaissance Mall, and he saw sushi, and I said, well, I'll go and sit and have a water, and I took pictures, and he sat,
Mm-hmm.
and my husband said it was one of the best sushis, would you say?
It was really good.
Very interesting. Where else did you eat this trip?
Where did we eat? Well, first I have to say, I've never heard it mentioned, and it's a must-go place, is Reflections. It has the beach beds you can rent. It was up the beach. When we got in, we had left our house, or had got up at 2 a.m. on Friday, June 5th, and had left for the airport in Logan, and got there at 5:15. By the time we arrived into our actual room at the Aruba Surfside was 1 p.m., and we were starved. We had been up since 2 a.m., almost 12 hours.
Right.
And I asked the woman in the office, who actually we found out was the owner, where can we grab something to eat quick? We were starved, we were tired, we just wanted to eat. And we looked down the beach, and she said, well, that's a new place down there. It was amazing. It's called Reflections Beach Bar. They rent beach beds, single beds, umbrellas, had a nice bar. And the first thing we did was go there and have a couple of balashis, which is our traditional thing once we hit Aruba. We split a burger, which was delicious. It was flame broiled, tasted like right off the grill being home. And a Caesar salad was very reasonable. Music was playing. It has a swim-up bar, beds around the bar. I haven't heard too much about this place, but it would definitely be, when we go back again, that we would spend a day there. The beach was clean. The manager we met on the last night we were there, who was Dutch, Hans, and we can't say enough about the place.
Yeah, see, what keeps a lot of people away from the downtown area is they don't want to go away from the beach. But if you visit a place like Reflections, you can visit the downtown area and still be really close to the beach.
Club music playing, so if you're laying out on the beach, you've got the music playing, and they've got the Cabana boys that come across the sand that bring lunch and drinks. You don't have to get your butt off that chair.
Nice. Sounds right up our alley.
It's fabulous, and it's worth the trip for the day to rent a beach bed. I think the single chairs and the umbrellas are like $6. I think it's actually called Niki Beach. But I'm not quite sure on what the beach beds, but they've got the curtains draped back, and then they have the big beds that have like, what do they call those? That come,
it's like a bimini top.
Like a bimini top on a boat that kind of, if you're on the beach, It covers you. The beach is clean. Other than getting up and going to the beach and the bathroom, you will have everybody wait on you. It's amazing.
It's a great recommendation. Yeah, that hasn't been recommended on this show before.
No.
So you guys have done two things for the first time. You've recommended Reflections and you've mentioned the Red Light District.
I don't know how many people are going there, but it was an experience. We don't go to the Red Light District in Boston.
Yeah. Well, I mentioned to Walter we wanted to see it all, so part of my job is I take care of 2 cemeteries in the town that we live in, and so I wanted to see what a real Aruban cemetery looked like. So we went and visited a Catholic cemetery there, and it was a lot different than ours. They very above the ground, and the vaults are very colorful, like down there. They're all pink and green and blue and purple.
I've seen that before. I've taken some pictures of it. They're eerily beautiful, I guess is the way I would describe it.
That's what I thought.
Little chapels.
Yes. I actually live right in front of a cemetery here.
Quiet neighbors.
Exactly. Yeah, a lot of people they're freaked out about it, but the way I see it is, it's always quiet. And then the day that it's not quiet, something's drastically wrong. What else do you have on your list?
Well, we tried to get to a food truck.
They keep weird hours there.
Well, Walter had said when we went by, we had gone to a West Deck, which was on the list, which was fabulous. Another one. We loved it. But our server, when we asked about the food trucks, he was kind of like Larry going, oh, no, you don't want to go to those. And they don't get, they're not clean. You don't want to do this and that. So we asked Walter, our cab driver, and we said, is it something we should go to? Because, we told him about your podcast, and our son lives in Colorado. He's been to California, and food trucks are a big deal. They're just hitting now here where we live, Mexican food truck, and people think it's all the rage because it's new. But our son has been for years, 8+ years, with food trucks, and he likes to, no matter where he travels, he likes to eat off the land and where the locals do. So he kept saying, you need to do the food trucks. And so we walked by, we got up every morning about 6:30, and we took a walk heading towards the airport, which was kind of like a rail trail. And we saw this food truck, and at first we were like, oh, we don't know. This open sign only had OP left on the flag. The EN was gone, and we were like, I don't know about this. So then he told us, definitely go there. Definitely, the Board of Health checks into them. That was fabulous. So we were all planned for the Thursday night before we came back to do the food truck. And we had researched all the different names and what the food was, and, Aruban food. And so we get there, and it's about 10:07, and the guy is in there, and we're looking, and, the lights come on, and he holds up a 5 and 3 fingers. So I'm saying, 8 minutes you're opening, and he's shaking his head yes. And then we realized, no, it's 10 minutes of 7. It ain't 8 minutes. It's 8 o'clock.
Right.
So we said, we can't do this. So we basically went back and had liquid dinner on that Thursday night.
You gave it a shot, right?
We really wanted to do it because, we wanted to do it, but it just was, we're not late eaters. We're kind of old school. We're grew up with the 12 and the 5 type of thing. And then to go to bed, we're early to bed and early to rise. So we like, I don't know about this. So we did miss out on the food trucks, but he did give a big thumbs up on it.
Cool. And there's always next time, right?
Definitely.
Yeah, we don't want to use up. We don't want to see everything all at once and experience everything. We kind of figure we're going to be going there for years, so we do a lot of resting and relaxing, and then take in, one or two things every time we go.
Mm-hmm. So, you guys celebrated your anniversary there, right? Where did you go for anniversary night dinner?
Pinchos.
Pinchos?
Yeah.
And how was it?
It was really good. They also, Pinchos owns the West Deck restaurant, too, down near the Renaissance. Kind of almost to downtown.
Right.
And the food is really good. I had lobster tail with shrimp and swordfish. And, everything is grilled.
I had the pork tenderloin with grilled mash, mixed vegetables, which was like a zucchini pepper. And it had a dark rum and blue cheese, like stuffing in it, roll. Was very good.
So your son would approve?
Yes. I have to say, though, pork is one of those things, once you bring it out and it's got to rest for 20 minutes, it was a little bit on the dry side, on that end, but the taste was there. I just wish they had pulled the pork a little bit shorter for the moistness, but it was good.
Do you have anything else on your list for dining?
My husband's going to tell you about Zero-Overs.
Yes, please do.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Have you been?
That is on our list for this September trip.
An experience.
Yeah. You show up there, you park out front, you walk up to the window, and you figure out if you're going to have 1 or 2 or 3 pieces of fish. How many shrimp are you going to have? You order the shrimp 1 to as many as you want. You can get fried plantains, French fries. They got a whole list of things to do, and they put it all in a basket, and then and you take it down back and you hand it to a guy who fries up everything that needs to be fried, and you have a wooden block with a number on it that you take to your table, and they call you, and you pick your food up and take it back. It's really in the rough, but it's great. We're sitting there, and the boats are coming in, and they're unloading fresh grouper, and they're scaling them out and cutting them up, and here's off the boat, cut up and shipped to the front of the place there where it gets put in, and then you buy it and they cook it right there.
It doesn't get any fresher than that.
Very reasonable for 3 of us, for 3 pieces of fish, 12 shrimp with the heads on, plantains, French fries, pickled onions, cornbread, which they call it cornbread, but it's more like a corn pancake, was $59.
Pretty good.
Yeah, we went to Pizza Bob's, and got a medium pizza and a salad, and it was $35. So they got red snapper. We took pictures. They stand right down below. They're scaling the fish, and then they're gutting it, and our table was right there, and then the water comes in, so they throw everything, and it gets all washed out, so it's kind of repurposed for the seagulls, and it was totally in the rough and quite an experience that I think everybody needs to experience if you haven't.
I will definitely take your recommendation.
Definitely.
What else did you do while in Aruba?
Well, our trip in October with my sister and brother-in-law, we did the ABC tour. The half day with Ivo, who is amazing. We didn't expect, my brother-in-law is scuba certified, and the rest of us can barely snorkel. So when we got there, he wanted to do an excursion, and we tried to agree on something to do. And none of us wanted to scuba or snorkel. So we decided on the Jeep tour, and it went to the natural pool and the gold mines, and where else, hon?
Well, there was the natural bridge, if it was still there.
The natural bridge, which is now, they call it the baby bridge, the smaller of the two. And my husband has a CDL license because he's a general foreman of the highway department in town, and they were short drivers, so they said, does anyone drive? And my husband raised his hand. And so we had our own Land Rover with my brother-in-law and sister in back, who they asked, are you okay? He drives. And we were the second Jeep in line. And let me tell you, it's something that, it was our third trip to Aruba, and we go to just relax, walk the beach, eat, have drinks, and just like, we don't want to be on a time schedule. And let me tell you, we had more laughs and a ball with that. My brother-in-law got a GoPro for his birthday from my sister, and he was in the natural pool. And when we came home in October, he did a whole video. He did a beautiful book for us for Christmas, and we sat for Thanksgiving, and he put it to music, and we never had more fun, and it was something we didn't plan on doing. It was the half day, and then you could come back to, what was that place?
Waka Waka.
Waka Waka, and have the grouper and a beer and sides for $12 if you did the tour. And Ivo actually came back and bought everybody a second round of drinks. And let me tell you, if you haven't done it, do the half day and do the first part of the day. We were out, they picked us up at the Casa del Mar and delivered us there, and it was, 6 hours?
Yeah, I'd say.
And we never had more laughs and fun.
Now, I've seen those guys driving around, and they zoom around the backside of the island. So how was it following
It was, Ivo kept getting out and yelling to me. He's saying, Ray, the gas pedal's on the right, because I was following behind him. It's pretty rough over there. I couldn't believe the rocks we were going over. And I was watching the woman in the back of the Jeep ahead of me. She was coming 3 feet out of her seat. I thought a couple times she was going to bounce right out of the Land Rover, and I thought I'd run her over. So I backed off a little bit, and they really hammer down with those Land Rovers, the testimonial to how tough they are.
So how would you describe the drive to the natural pool?
Some of it's a little hairy. You're going on some pretty good inclines and around these bends, and it had rained heavy back in October, so Ivo was dodging the pools of water, but I thought, hell, I'll drive right through them, and I'd get a big splash, and yeah, it was quite an experience. So
it was fun. Anybody? The only thing is, once you get to the natural pool, if you're not in physical shape, it's a long walk down. There's stairs. There's no railings. Once you actually make your way out to the natural pool, you have to kind of put your butt on the rocks, which have kind of like algae, and kind of work your way over to actually get in, and it's rocky in the bottom. So I would totally suggest, if you're not someone that's physically that walks or can move well, it definitely is not for somebody that has a hard time getting around.
Yeah, if you've got a bad heart or a bad back, it's probably not something you want to do.
Kind of like Disney when they put those little things up as you're going to get on Space Mountain or Tower of Terror. Turn back if you can't do it. But so much fun. And we're not youngins. I mean, I'm 54 and my husband's going to be 58. But we never laughed and had more fun, and highly recommend it to people that are looking for a good time.
It sounds like a blast.
Yeah.
So, are you guys ready for the eye of the hurricane?
Yes, we are.
As you know, Aruba lies below the hurricane belt, so they don't have to worry about hurricanes. But on this podcast, we visit the eye of the hurricane. That's where I ask you a series of questions, rapid fire style, and you get back to me with whatever comes to mind. Okay. Finish this sentence. You know you're in Aruba when
the plane is coming in and you look down and you see that turquoise water.
And everybody getting off the plane's happy, and you look into the crying room and they're all sad.
That's the worst. I mean, it's not the worst when you're arriving, but yeah. Give me a no-brainer great time in Aruba.
Oh my God, there's so much there. I mean, there's so much to do. I just like getting up in the morning and walking on the beach. This place that we stayed at, Marina Surfside, gave us what they called the continental breakfast every morning, and it was like enough food there for an army.
I would say no worries, relaxing, and you leave the world behind.
Are there any special tools, apps, or resources you use to plan your Aruba trips?
I would say all the Facebook pages, definitely all things Aruba. People that have gone for years and years and years, any question you ask, they've got the answer. So I definitely would say a lot of use of the Facebook pages.
Yeah, it seems like everybody that visits Aruba is always just so helpful and so eager to pass along any knowledge that they've picked up along the way.
Correct.
What's the best kept secret in Aruba?
Oh, best kept secret.
We get some hard ones.
Best kept secret.
That's what makes it fun.
I don't know if there's any secrets anymore.
True.
Reflections for sure, and
The Broquet cab, yeah, and that 402C, wherever that is, we have no idea. Didn't have.
Yeah, it's spray painted on the front of the building, and people would know.
Do you have something you bring from home or pick up as soon as you arrive to help you take your vacation to the next level?
We brought a little bit of food this time when we went. We brought a big bag of pistachios, just some snack stuff, because food there is a little bit expensive. We went to Ling & Sons and got one little grocery bag of stuff, and it was about $90.
So we bring granola bars, we bring pistachio nuts, and this time, I don't know if you can put this on that, but I brought some alcohol in my suitcase because we live on the New Hampshire border. I know people say duty free, but I can get a half gallon of vodka for about $9. And if it got confiscated, then so be it. But put it in bubble wrap and packed it, and it made it through. So that was our drink of choice in the room. So before we went out, we could have drinks, and I guess we brought drinks and apps.
Yeah, I bring booze down all the time.
Well, I wasn't sure. I asked that actually on All Things Aruba and said, is it going to make it through? Because we brought Balashi beer home. We love the little small, short, little squat cans. And our first trip, they were wrapped in newspaper, and the woman said no problem to bring them back. And, you know, nothing tastes better than a Balashi beer like November, December to bring you back to the island. We chanced it this time, because usually the duty-free I'll stop, and it's mostly Absolute, because I'm a vodka drinker. But I like Balashi, but rum punches are my drink of choice on the island.
I think Maggie would share that same drink of choice with you. What's missing from Aruba, or how do you think Aruba could be improved?
I wish they'd take care of the animals a little more. Listening to that podcast with Marie, it really broke my heart. And being an animal owner ourselves, we have a very cute English bulldog, Pearl, who's 2 years old, who we miss terribly when we're gone. We would stay for 2 or 3 weeks if we could, but we miss her too much.
Right.
So that breaks my heart to see the animals. We actually walked Surfside Beach. The last full day we were there on that Saturday, the 13th. And down near the west deck, there was like a tarp hanging, and Ray said to me, there's a guy in there, and there was like a dog laying outside. And that kind of broke my heart that I think they need to take a little bit more care of their animals. And we are making a donation to the Aruba Relief Fund that they can get there and take care of the animals. So that kind of broke my heart that,
Yes.
they have no voices and we need to speak for them. It's something that touches home with us, having dogs, so I would like to see that as an owner, you need to step up and take responsibility. If you're going to have a pet, you take responsibility.
Is there anything you didn't get a chance to do on this last trip that's definitely on the list for your next trip?
Well, there's a whole bunch of stuff we never get around to. Like I say, we don't want to do it all, but...
Mm-hmm. What's at the top of your list?
Oh, yeah, Renaissance Island. We were going to do it this time, but we ended up taking the cab ride with Walter, and, I don't know, just busy with every other thing. And so we're thinking the next time we go and stay, we usually do the 9 days. We'll probably do like 7 days. We've never stayed at the TAM. We've stayed at the All-Inclusive, but we may stay at the Tammer and then for 7 days, and then 2 days at the Renaissance. So we can, if you're staying there, you can go out to the island, take the boat out to the island if you're a guest there.
Right.
So, and then one of the other places, we met this Daniel Malouf, who's the vice president on the board of directors at the Caribbean Palm Village Resort. We met him and his wife Jan on the beach there, and we're talking with him. So that's another place we may look at staying at some point when we get back there.
Very cool. You also met someone else in Aruba, right?
Billy was fabulous. He is the one to interview. When you stay at the Aruba Surfside, the way it's set up, it's a circular upper deck. The daughter runs the place, who is an Aruban. The day we checked in on the Friday, June 5th, the mother was there, who gave us the impression that, my daughter's not here today, she's sick, she'll be in. And it was sad because the first night we were there, we were exhausted from traveling, but they were holding the big Aruba Red Cross party in the open air thing, and they had a piano player and steel pans, and they were all dressed in white, and we tried to keep our eyes open. We laid down at 7 o'clock at night, and we said, we're going to get up for this. It was 8 to 11, and we could hear the music, but we were so tired. I peeked out at one point, but she told us, come to find out, the daughter was not the owner, it was the mother and father, and she was running the place. And it's amazing if you look it up on TripAdvisor. And it's 5 rooms, and then there's one room down below, and they have function rooms, and people on Aruba have parties there. But they serve, breakfast is included, and it's a European breakfast, so you'd get, a yogurt and fresh fruit every day, and ham and Gouda cheese, and a croissant or bread, and lettuce and tomato. So for the whole week we stayed there, we wrapped up the ham, the cheese, the sandwich meats, the lettuce and tomato, and we ended up getting breakfast and lunch. We only bought dinners. And the place
very nice.
For 9 nights, 10 days was like $1,300.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So they took great pride in the breakfast. You told them what time you wanted to eat, and you sat out on your balcony, and they delivered a tray fresh squeezed orange juice, coffee if you wanted to carafe. Every day the fruit was different. It was papaya or watermelon, honeydew, grapes, oranges, banana. I mean, there was so much food delivered that you had enough for 2 days, for 2 meals. So, and we never ate it all. We put it in the fridge and we wrapped it up. We were like a couple of elderly people going out to eat, packing the sugar packets.
If given a chance, would you move to Aruba?
Well, I think the only thing torn, we have a 28-year-old son, soon to be 29, who lives in Colorado. So our heart is torn between the Rockies and the water. We live on the water, and we love it. Year-round, I myself would probably say no. I don't know what Ray would say. But I could do 6 months for sure.
Yeah, we could definitely visit there. I don't know about living there.
I don't know living year-round, only because we love the ocean and we also love the mountains. So
on the surface, when you first think about it, you think, you know what, I could live in Aruba, but then when you start to think about the things you would miss out on, it becomes a little bit less
exactly,
attractive.
because it's part of the vacation of going and staying. And we
Right.
did inquire at one time. Our first trip in 2010, when we stayed at the Divvy All-Inclusive, there was a couple of great women that were pushing the timeshares over at the Divvy Golf, and we loved them. And we went because you could get a $100 gift certificate to go to El Gaucho's. And I asked them, what does it take to live here? And they said that, you know, for 6 months, but you have to move all of your money into their account. And I thought, you know what? I love the beach and I love the whole idea of it, but it's like living in the Northeast after the winter we had. I love when Christmas comes and the snow falls. I like the seasons, I guess. But I'm definitely a beach person. But maybe if we didn't have a child, it would be different. But I kind of like the different climates, I guess I'd say. You too, Ray? Yeah.
Well, he's going to go wherever you go.
That's right. And our little bulldog, too. Just take Mel to the heat.
That's right. Yeah, definitely the short snouts. So this is the final question of the Eye of the Hurricane. The people of Aruba have decided to lock you out of paradise. That's right, they're no longer allowing visitors to the island. However, since you've been such great guests so many times, they've decided to allow you to visit for one more day. All expenses paid. How do you spend your last day on the island of Aruba?
Probably do a couple hours out on Wren Island, and then I would go to all the good places to eat that I haven't gotten to yet, and a few that I have. And I'd do a lot of swimming. I love to swim. This trip there, I was in the water 4 to 6 hours a day. So that's how I would spend it.
I would be by his side as a good, devout wife as I am.
Good answer.
All full.
Okay, Marcia. So if you were making the rules, how would you spend the day?
I would start probably by waking up in the morning and seeing the sunrise. I would walk the beach, feet in the water. I would come back, have a nice breakfast. I would swim, lay under a divvy tree, take it all in. Lay on a bed, definitely a beach bed at Reflections, having drinks served to me, and watching the sunset and dreaming of future trips, if possible.
Yeah, well, they'll lock it down.
Yep. This is the last one.
Well, watching the sunset on my last trip, I guess.
Well, that concludes the Eye of the Hurricane. How was it?
Tough. My hair's all in place, though.
That's always a good thing. You just got it done.
True.
Now that I've put you guys through the ringer, I just have one more favor to ask. Assume right now someone's listening who's never been to Aruba, and they're on the fence about whether or not they should go to Aruba or somewhere else. What would you say to that person to convince them that Aruba should be their next vacation destination?
I would say if you want paradise, if you want perfect weather, 365 days of the year, well worth your money, wonderful people, wonderful time, short trip from the East Coast. Look no further than Aruba.
Sounds good. How about you, Ray? Anything to add?
I just say that it's a really safe place to be. You know, I hear about other people going to Jamaica and they don't feel safe if they leave the resort. I mean, I've been out in Aruba, you know, early morning before the sun rises. I've been out there, you know, late at night, and I've never felt unsafe.
Very well said. So I want to thank you guys for joining me on this episode of One Happy Podcast. You guys were amazing.
Thanks for having us, Kurt.
And with that being said, I guess I'll let you guys get out of here.
All right. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you.
All right. Take care. So there you have it, another episode of One Happy Podcast, the officially unofficial podcast of the island of Aruba. Hopefully you found it both entertaining and informative. We talked about a lot in this episode, but if you missed something, no worries, as it'll all be listed on the show notes page that accompanies this episode, which can be found at onehappypodcast.com/EP23. I want to thank Marcia and Ray Frost for being such great guests, and I want to thank you guys for letting me spend the last 50 minutes with you. If you enjoy One Happy Podcast, make sure you like us on Facebook, and if possible, leave us a review on iTunes. But truthfully, the best thing you can do if you're a fan of the show is spread the word. If you want to participate in a future episode, send me an email at kurt@onehappypodcast.com. That's Kurt with a C. Or visit onehappypodcast.com and click on the tab at the top of the page that says Share Your Story. So, until next time, hit the music.